Hello, good evening. My name is Catherine and I work with SEB Housing. And this is the information session for the 2 affordable homes at Prattown Meadows and Bridgewater. And so the purpose of this session is to give a little bit of background information on the available homes. We're also going to cover the application, eligibility and lottery processes, and then what to expect after the lottery if you do decide to apply. So if you have any questions during this session, you're encouraged to go ahead and either type them into the Zoom chat, or I'll be asking throughout the presentation if you have any questions, so you can go ahead and unmute yourself at that point. When you entered the Zoom session, you were muted, so we just ask that you remain muted unless you're asking a question, just to minimize any unnecessary noise. And this is a live session. You should have received the disclaimer when you came into the room that it is being recorded and it is going to be saved to the SEB Housing YouTube channel in case anyone who wasn't able to attend tonight wants to go ahead and review the presentation. If you have any questions after tonight's session, something that you didn't think to ask while you were in here, you can connect with us by emailing or calling us. Email is probably the best way to get in touch if that works for you, at info@sebhousing.com. And again, if you prefer to call, we do have the number on the screen as well. So 617-782-6900 extension 2 will take you to the home ownership lotteries that we have currently. Any questions or trouble viewing the screen, anything like that that I should know of right off the bat? All right. So just some background on SEB Housing, on who we are. So we are an off-site affordable housing consulting group. We've been hired by the developer to market the affordable homes, conduct this information session, collect and review applications for interested applicants, and to determine those applicants' eligibility for the affordable housing program. And then also we'll be the ones eventually running the lottery. So we're not part of the sales team. We haven't seen the homes in person. But in the initial phases of this process, we will be your main point of contact rather than the sales team over at Prattown. Further along in the process, though, of course, you'll have more direct contact with the owner if you're invited to move forward to purchasing one of the homes. So there's 2 broad steps in the process, and we're going to discuss both of these during the session. But the first is to apply for the affordable housing program. So during that time, you'd be in touch with SEB Housing, and we can answer any questions you might have on the affordable housing program. We're going to do that preliminary review of your application. And if you're eligible for the lottery and you're eligible for the program, based on what you listed on your application, we're going to give you a position on the waiting list following the lottery. The second step in the process involves actually reserving and buying the home. And your opportunity to do so will depend on your waitlist placement following the lottery. There is an information packet. A lot of the information that I'm going to be reviewing during this session is in the information packet. Page 11 of the information packet lists the approximate timeline for each of these processes and has a lot of the information, like I said, that I'll be reviewing tonight. So if you haven't already, take a look at that. It's on our website. And if you haven't already done so, go to our website, which is sebhousing.com, and that will take you to a page specific to Prattown Meadows. If you click on affordable housing opportunities and select I want to buy, since this is a homeownership opportunity, you're going to then see the downloadable version of the application, the lottery application, a sample deed rider, which would be finalized closer to closing on the unit, and then the information packet that I was mentioning. I won't have time to cover everything that's in that information packet tonight, but I'm going to be reviewing the main points, and it's recommended, again, even if you attend this session, that you review that information packet so you're more familiar with the property and the process. So if you do choose to apply to purchase one of the affordable homes at Prattown Meadows, you're going to need to complete that affordable lottery application. You can submit it to us in one of several ways. You can email or scan it to us at info@scbhousing.com. You can fax it to us. The fax number is listed on the first page of the application. You can send it to us by regular mail. Our address is, actually not on the slides here, but it's 257 Hillside Ave. You will see it, is it Needham, I should say. You will see it on the application, the first page of the application. If you're in the Needham area, you can drop off the application at our secure drop box that's located on the left side of our building. We do check that every day, even though we're off site. So you can pick whichever one of those works best for you. We do encourage you to get your lottery application in early. You're going to see that there's a lot of supporting documentation and things that you're going to need to submit. So applications are due by May 5th at 2 p.m., so a month from today. And applications need to be delivered by that date in order to be considered. A mortgage pre-approval is required to be submitted with this application. We're going to cover that a little bit more in depth during the presentation, but just keep that in mind. It might take a week or two for a bank to get that to you. So if you are interested in this opportunity, you should get that process going as soon as possible. You do not need to be a resident of Bridgewater to apply for this lottery. However, there is going to be local preference for one of the two homes, which will be discussed in a little bit more detail later on in the presentation. So by all means, if you are not a Bridgewater resident, that shouldn't deter you from applying for this lottery because there are two homes and only one of those homes has that preference or priority, I should say. Any questions before I go through and talk a little bit more about the process of applying? All right. All right, so the units at Prattown Meadows. Prattown Meadows is located about 1.5 miles from the center of Bridgewater. It's a newly developed road right off of Route 104, and each of the affordable homes in this lottery feature over 1,700 square feet of living space. They also have one-car garages. The picture that's on your screen now is of a home in the community. It is not one of the new builds because they are not quite finished yet, but the homes will be comparable to the one that you're seeing there. And there's a driveway for additional parking. As you can see, there's a back deck, and this is a new road, a new development that has gone in there over the last few years. The sales price for the affordable home is $219,100. They're all 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom units, or homes, I should say. And this price, as you might have thought, is well below what market rate homes have sold for within the same community. From what I can tell, the homes in the community, the market rate homes are going for between $400,000 and $550,000. So this is a good opportunity. The condo fee is $100 a month, which includes trash and snow removal, common area landscaping. There's some other items that buyers would obviously be privy to further along in the process. You'd be taking a look at that condo budget with the seller. The homes are going to be available shortly after the lottery. The developer has confirmed that both of the homes are up and almost finished. One of them is very close to being finished. So they would be available for tours, or one of them will be available for tours if you're interested in seeing the property ahead of submitting an application. And since these homes are being sold at affordable prices, they're only going to be made available to households with incomes at or below 80% of the area median income. And that's sometimes referred to as AMI, so you might hear that. AMIs are amounts that the Department of Housing and Urban Development, so HUD, releases each spring. Bridgewater falls within the Brockton AMI area. And there's a couple questions, so I just want to pause for a second. Can we submit an application by email? Yes, you can send that to, that's probably the most popular way to submit an application. And you would send it to info@sebhousing.com. That's the email address. You can send it as an attachment and scan those right in. When would we see the actual deed rider and how do you pick? So the deed rider, there's a sample deed rider that's on the website with this listing that will be very close to the finalized version. It won't be finalized until after you've done your purchase and sale agreement and all of that. We'll talk a little bit more about what it actually, what the highlights of that deed rider are, and all of that. I'm not sure what you meant by how do you pick, but so there's 2 homes. You will be placed on waiting lists after the lottery. If you're eligible for, if you're a local preference household, you're going to be on 2 waiting lists and so forth. We'll get a little bit more into that as well. Does it have a backyard? Yes, I believe it has a full lot. I don't know the dimensions of it, but yeah, it's a single family home with front and backyard. Snow removal for the street only, I believe so, since these are single family homes. I do not believe that they're going to be plowing driveways, but I will write that down to ask the developer. And if you send me a direct message, I can get back to you on that with your email address, I should say. Our placements on the lottery first come, first serve. So we're going to get a lot more into the lottery process. It is not first come, first serve right now because there is a lottery, which means that everyone who applies and is found eligible for the lottery, you'll be given a lottery application number, and that application number will be entered into the lottery. We'll draw the numbers on the lottery night, and that's how we formulate the waiting list from the lottery outcome. And then I see a question on a basement. I believe there's unfinished basements. I'm just going to quickly look that up for you because I think we do have that info. I thought we had that info. They are not finished. I know that much, but I believe there is a basement. I can get back to you on that as well if you would like to send me a direct message with your email, so I can get back to you on that specific question. I am 90% sure that there's a basement. It just is not finished. All right, so moving on, like I said, since these are affordable homes, there is going to be a deed rider that is filed along with the deed at the time of purchase. This ensures that homes will remain affordable in the future, even if the owner eventually chooses to sell the home. And just a quick overview of what a deed rider is going to entail for any affordable unit. It limits the amount for which you can eventually resell the property. So this opportunity isn't for you if you're looking to buy, flip, and resell a home within a year or two. It doesn't mean that you won't eventually be able to make a profit or sell the home for more than you pay for it, but it does need to be resold to another affordable buyer. So you might have some return on investment, but you're not going to expect the same type of appreciation that market rate homes might be seeing. If you buy a home today and then sell it 10 years from now, you might make a lot more on that investment. There is a formula for resale price of the affordable properties. There is an example of that on the last page of the information packet, and that formula is also based on the AMIs that I talked about, area median income. The deed rider also says that it must be your primary residence. So generally it can't be rented out as an investment property, like an Airbnb or a Vrbo property, that sort of thing. And then the third part of the deed rider that I wanted to mention is that if you would like to refinance or make capital improvements, such as a new roof in the future, the Department of Housing and Community Development at the state level would need to approve that sort of improvement to the home. These are brand new homes though, they're just being built now. Those types of improvements would likely not be applicable for many years. still just want to put it out there because it is important that you understand what's in that deed rider. So I mentioned that there's a mortgage pre-approval that's required to be submitted along with the lottery application. So we suggest that you review the information packet and you just either copy or rip out page 8 of that information packet because it lists the required mortgage pre-approval standards for this housing opportunity. You can bring that to your mortgage lender, the bank, and show it to them. You want to be sure that the mortgage products that they offer you is going to meet the necessary standards of these affordable units. You might also want to bring a copy of the sample deed rider, which again is in our website listing, since the information in that deed rider could be problematic for some lenders. There are certain loans who won't accept all the terms of a deed rider. An example of that is the loan needs to have a fixed interest rate throughout the term of the mortgage. It also can't be an FHA or VA loan, since those types of loans do not accept the deed restrictions. You don't want to be in a situation where the lender grants you pre-approval, but then later on in the process backs out when you're trying to get your mortgage commitment. So that's why we're recommending you bring that deed rider and the mortgage pre-approval standards. Along those lines, we want you to be aware that in our experience, it's been very difficult for applicants to successfully close with Bank of America as their lender. So we recommend that you don't use Bank of America for your pre-approval or mortgage because it seems like their products are likely not suited for affordable homes. But with that being said, you may select any bank or lender that you would like. We just strongly recommend that you choose someone who is familiar and has experience with affordable housing programs. And a link is included on page 8 of the information packet. It will direct you to Massachusetts Housing Partnership, their website. It's a great site. It's a good resource for finding lenders who are familiar with affordable housing. So you have that resource there if you're not sure where to go. The mortgage pre-approval standards state that you must provide a down payment of at least 3% of the purchase price. Half of that, 1.5%, must come from your own funds. So your loan or mortgage amount can be up to 97% of the purchase price. Okay, there's a couple questions that I just want to look at here. So who's required to fill out the deed rider at the time of the purchase and sale? I believe you will be with, you'll be represented, but let me get back to you on that as well. So Samantha, please send me your email. That's an important question. And then anyone else that needs to know that, you can send me your email address as well. Your lender will need to agree to the terms of the deed rider, of course, but in terms, I mean, you'll be signing it as well, but I would need to look and see who else would be involved. Does it have central AC and is there a floor plan we can see? I believe it does. We have a floor plan, which I can share with you, I believe. So again, if you want to send me your email address, or you can just email info@scbhousing.com, excuse my voice. You can email us at that email address. Once again, info@scbhousing.com, because I'll be able to check that right after this session and send you any documents that we have, like the floor plans that you were looking for. I can check that email right after this. Samantha, I wrote yours down though. And yeah, I'll get back to you on those. For central AC, I'm almost positive again that that it has that. Quickly, I will look for you. I don't know. These units have been, this is a subsequent lottery, so we don't have all of the information fresh and updated because there have been other lotteries for this property, so I apologize. So you don't need a realtor during the buying process. We do recommend that you get an attorney, which I would mention later as well. There will be a realtor on the other side as well. Thank you for sending your email address. And again, I'll get back to you on a few of these. Sorry for the pause. And Justine, I got yours as well. Okay. Any questions on the, well, you guys have already sent a couple questions on the deed rider. But again, keep them coming. If you have any questions after the fact, or if there's a document that you'd like to be sent that I mentioned during this call, you can email info@scbhousing.com and I'll be able to send it to you that way. Just copying down a few emails here. Okay. So I'm going to move on to the 4 eligibility requirements that are listed in the information packet, and basically the 4 main eligibility requirements for the affordable housing program. So the first is that your total household income needs to be at or below that 80% of area median income for the Brockton area that I mentioned. Sorry, you guys are hitting me with your email addresses here. Anybody else who would like the floor plan, just go ahead and email info@scbhousing.com and I'll make sure to get back to you guys on that after the session, so you don't have to send them. Okay. All right, and the second eligibility requirement is that a household's income and assets, like I said, need to be below those income limits. You also need to be considered a first-time home buyer. There are exceptions to that, which I'll be discussing in a few minutes, but even households who qualify for an exception would still need to sell their current home before closing on a home at Prattown Meadows. So if you own a home right now, you can apply for the lottery. You'll be conditionally approved potentially if you qualify, but you would need to sell your property if you own one now before buying an affordable home. The third eligibility requirement, you need to have that mortgage pre-approval. And then fourth, you can't have financial interest in the development or be a related party. So if you work for the developer or you're related to them in some way, you might not be eligible for this lottery. So to circle back on the income eligibility, or actually, let's circle back first on the first-time home buyer eligibility requirement. So all household members need to be considered first-time home buyers. You are considered a first-time home buyer if you haven't within the last 3 years owned a home. This includes through joint ownership. So if you were a household member, if you were on a deed or if anybody in your household was on a deed to a home along with a partner or a spouse or anybody else, you would still be considered to own that home because you're on the deed. There are 5 exceptions to the first-time home buyer rule that are in the information packet. The 3 exceptions that come up most often are, the first is someone who is referred to as a displaced homemaker. So if you're someone who hasn't worked outside of the home for many years because you have been caring for the home and the family, but you've owned a home in the past with a partner or a spouse, but you no longer own that home due to separation or recent divorce, that could be an exception. The second exception is if you're a single parent with at least joint custody of 1 or more children, or if you're currently pregnant and being displaced due to a family breakup and you're now looking for a home, that could be an exception. And then the third exception that comes up the most often, if you're an aged qualified household. So if you have someone in your household who's over the age of 55 and that person is selling or has sold a home recently in order to purchase a more affordable property, that could be an exception to the first-time home buyer rule. Like I said, if any of those sound familiar to your household, and it sounds like you might fall under any of those categories, you would still need to sell your home before buying a home at Prattown Meadows. This might mean that your divorce would need to be finalized if that is the situation that you're working through right now, because your name would need to be off of that deed if you currently own a property. The second eligibility requirement, the income limits. So since these are affordable homes, as I mentioned, they're being made available to purchase at prices that are lower than the homes being sold at market rate units, or sorry, at market rate homes in the area. So because of this, it's only going to be made available to households who have incomes at or below that 80% of area median income. So on your screen right now, you see the 80% of area median income amounts for Brockton, for the Brockton area, I should say, for household, by household size. So one person household, for example, you could make up to $62,550, all the way up to a 6-person household that could have a total household income at or below $103,650. The maximum income limits are set by household size. So when you're figuring out what your approximate household income is, you'll want to include income from everyone that will be living in the home. And there is a list in the information packet that lists all of these amounts here. If you can't quite see it on your screen, if you're joining by phone or anything, the amounts are there. So all households are going to be required to submit supporting income and asset documentation, and the required documents vary a little bit depending on what your sources of income are. But for all households, no matter what your income is, you will need to submit copies of your federal tax returns for the last year, as well as copies of bank statements for the last 3 months. Section 2 of the application is very detailed and lists all of the information that you'd need to submit and what you need to verify your income sources. So for example, it details how many pay stubs you'll need to send in if you're employed and that sort of thing. Just going to give a basic overview of how your income will be counted. Income for this program is counted as a projection of your income over the next 12 months for all household members. So all income, like I said, for household members is included, and this includes bonuses and overtime. The only exceptions to this are minors. So anyone under the age of 18 who is working, if they're earning a wage, we're not going to count their wage income towards your total household income. And then for dependent full-time students who are working, only the first $480 of wages are counted when determining eligibility. We are required to count gross income, so not net income. That's the amount you make before taxes. We obviously realize that you do not take home the full amount of your salary, but we are required, like I said, to use that gross income amount when we're calculating your total household income. How we calculate your income is not one size fits all. So everyone's income circumstances are unique. Some applicants have that steady weekly salary consistent throughout the year. There are other families, of course, that are self-employed or they work seasonally. In those circumstances, we might need to look further back into the past in order to project your anticipated income for the next 12 months. And then specifically for applicants who have members who are self-employed, or households who have members who are self-employed, I should say, you're going to need to complete a profit and loss statement and provide supporting documentation. So your business expenses are taken into account if you're self-employed. If you're not self-employed, it will always be your gross income that we need to count. So in general, any income that you have been making, we're going to assume that you will be making it, you'll continue to make it going forward, unless we have some sort of definitive documentation that you're not going to be earning that income source in the future. That could be, something from your employer saying that you are no longer working with them, or something from your employer saying that bonuses and overtime are not going to be allowable in the next year, whatever that might be. And then just remember to put all sources of income on your application. So if you look at the application, it kind of gives you a list of a little chart that shows the types of incomes that you want to keep in mind, not just wages, but if anybody in your household has Social Security benefits, unemployment benefits, pension payouts, periodic payments from friends or family, that sort of thing. Just make sure that you write that all down. There is no minimum income requirement for this lottery. But in order to qualify, you do have to get that mortgage pre-approval. So you need to meet the lender or the bank's requirements in order to receive the mortgage pre-approval that is required to be submitted. Households cannot have more than $75,000 in assets at the time of application. This includes any funds that you would use as a future down payment. So if you happen to have a family member who's planning to gift you part of the down payment, that itself will have to be considered towards your $75,000 asset limit. So you would need to disclose that on your application. When we're thinking about assets, it's not only cash that you have in savings or checking accounts, but we're talking the net cash value of stocks, retirement accounts, bonds, even statements from your Venmo or PayPal account. We will need to look into those as well. You might think it's a little strange that we're going to count money that you have tied up in a retirement account, especially since many of you might not be planning to access that money for many years. The program does require us to do so, since you could, in theory, access the account to withdraw funds, although there would be that penalty for it. So it is that post-penalty amount or net cash value of a 401k or any retirement account that we would count if you do have a retirement account. So you'll be asked to get a letter from the financial institution listing that post-penalty amount. If there's any income generated by your assets, that would be counted towards your total household income. We do not need asset verification for personal assets such as cars or jewelry or anything like that. All right, so we covered a lot of the eligibility criteria for the program, the affordable housing program and the lottery. I'm going to go ahead and go into the chat here. There's a few questions that have come up as I was talking. Can two persons apply for mortgage but only one household? I do not think so. There is no, I don't believe it can be co-applicants. But I will look into that as well. You guys have a lot of great questions tonight that I haven't had come up before. So if you could send that, Elton, if you could send that question to info@sdbhousing.com, I'll get back to you at your email address that you send it from. What if our jobs change but income eligibility stays the same? Is there any income impact from that? So you would just need to send us, if you haven't yet, if your income or your job, anything like that, changes between the time you apply and the time that you close on the property, there is a couple, we haven't talked about it yet, but there is a couple reviews throughout this process that you would need to still be eligible for the program to be able to close on the home. So we check 2 to 3 weeks before your closing date to confirm that your income is still, still makes your household eligible for this program. So we would at that point be asking for updated pay stubs from you, which would be from another employer, of course, and would go through that process. You would still, you'd be going through the process. You just keep us informed if there is a large change like that. Question about the deed rider. If both the owners of the home pass away, but the children still live there, are they able to keep the home? Yes. So the home wouldn't, turn over to the state or anything like that. It could be passed down to you, if it's in a will or something like that. Yes. It would not be, it would just, like any other home that was owned by someone, it would be gifted to whoever was in that home. You do not need to qualify for the program to inherit the home, for example. Okay, same one. The email address here. 1 second. Do we need to specify Roth IRA and traditional 403B amounts from one job? Yes. So on the application, there are going to be, oh, I see what you mean. I believe so. We've actually updated our application recently, and I think you have to itemize the contributions in the 403B, which is the same, I know, as a 401k, just for nonprofits. Take a look at the application. I'm not going to pull it up right now, just in the interest of time, but you may need to. I know that if you're for a retirement account like this, we're only going to be looking for the post-penalty amount. So you'd have a letter from the financial institution, which might itemize it for you. But I would say do the best you can on the lottery application to list out the total amount. And then if we need something itemized from you later, you will be sent a notice from the person who's reviewing your application at SEB, and they'll let you know if they need something further. And then there's a question here. Should I get a letter from my IRA account holder if I'm unable to withdraw? Not allowed to withdraw until I'm 65. Yeah, so it would be a letter from the financial institution saying post-penalty what you would be able to, or what the balance is. And if it's, if there's some sort of stipulations that you're not able to withdraw, then we would see that in the letter. All right. All right, so lottery eligibility, I'm going to move on to that. And so as mentioned earlier, if you are interested in applying, we do suggest that you do so. Get your application in as soon as possible. There is a lot of information that is needed. Just 1 second. Once you submit that lottery application with your pre-approval and your income asset and tax documentation, we're going to review that application. We will contact you if there's any information that appears missing or incomplete. So you're going to have a chance to resubmit as necessary. Most applicants don't submit a 100% complete application on the first try. There's 2 reasons for that. The first is because there's just a lot of information that's required. And then the second is because sometimes even if you do submit all of your application, all of your information, there is some information in your packet that requires further information from us. So we might see your bank statement, and we have questions on deposit that need to be addressed. There might be some information on pay stubs we need to ask about, that sort of thing. That's completely fine. You'll be given additional time to supply that information. It's just really why we encourage you to get your application in as soon as possible, just to begin the process. So if you are found eligible after we review your application, if you're found eligible for the lottery, you're going to be sent an application number in the form of a series of numbers. This is just the number that's going to be drawn in the lottery. It's meant to be an anonymous identifier, so your name isn't called during the lottery. It's not a ranking of any sort. It just corresponds with the order in which we received your application. So if you were the very first person to submit your application for Prattown and you were determined to be eligible for the lottery, your number is going to be A.001. That email that you receive from us is also going to confirm whether or not your household qualifies for local preference. You will have indicated on your application if you believe that your household qualifies for this preference, and then you will have also submitted the necessary verification with your application. So local preference might apply to you if you live in Bridgewater, if you work within the town of Bridgewater, or if you work at a business located within the town, or if you're a guardian of a child who is attending Bridgewater Public Schools. One of the 2 homes at Prattown in this lottery will have a local preference which means that local preference households will have priority for those units when compared to households who don't have local preference. But you also want to keep in mind that for these 3-bedroom homes, household type or size is more heavily weighted than local preference. So what that means is, if, for example, you're a type 3 household, which means you're kind of one of these larger households, and the household types are listed on your application. If you're a type 3 household and you apply for a 3-bedroom home, you're still going to have priority over a smaller type 2 household who has local preference. So in short, you don't have to have local preference. You shouldn't be deterred at all from applying if you don't live or work in Bridgewater. There is more information about local preference, though, on page 17 of the application towards the back. The lottery itself, I should back up for a second. The lottery application deadline is May 5th again. The lottery itself is going to be held virtually on May 17th at 6 p.m. And it will be the same format as this session, a Zoom meeting. Numbers will be drawn from a box, held up to the screen and recorded, and then afterwards we'll be sorting the waiting list and you'll be sent the waiting list. So if you're watching on the night of the lottery, sometimes it's difficult to determine or hard to tell what your placement actually means. Your name is called first, or not your name, but your number is called first, but you might not necessarily be first on the waiting list. And that's because the household types and local preferences of applicants still needs to be sorted. When we're pulling the numbers, they're all just mixed in together. Local preference households, type 1, type 2, type 3 households. After we sort the results from the lottery, the waiting list will be sent to you usually later on that night, if not by the next morning. And once you see the waiting list, it will become a little bit more clear to you as to whether or not you'll be moving forward in the process or if you're higher up in the list. If your number is drawn later in the lottery, so maybe you're drawn 5th or 4th, you shouldn't lose hope in being able to move forward in the process. You might still have an opportunity to move forward and purchase one of these homes because, sometimes there are people who decide that they no longer want to buy the home, or they don't, qualify for the mortgage at the last minute, all that sort of thing. So just keep that all in mind. Like I said, the list will be sent to you by email within 12 or 24 hours of the lottery. If you're not able to attend, you do not need to attend the lottery. Top households will be moving forward to reserve a unit. So there's 2 homes for sale here, and a local preference household and a non-local preference household ideally would be moving forward. If those applicants do not ultimately buy the home, we'd be moving down the list from there. A couple questions came up. Is SCB Housing going to review household sizes and income every year? No. Once you are, and I'll get to this in a minute too, but once you buy the home and you move in, close on the home, you move in, there's no other income or household verifications. As long as you qualify for the affordable housing program at the time of your lottery application through the time that you close on the home, that's it. Again, obviously there's that deed rider in place, so you would still need to sell the home if you ever do eventually to an affordable buyer. If you're put on the wait list, what comes next? We're going to get to that in just a minute. When's the tour to view the house? There's nothing scheduled right now. There's no open house scheduled, but the developer did let me know today when I spoke with them that one of the 2 homes is near complete. Both of them are close to being complete. One of them is closer to being complete, and you could tour that home. So we would put you in touch with them if you were looking to schedule a tour. So Micah, if you could email me, I can put you in touch with them, or I can ask how they would like to coordinate that. Again, info@scbhousing.com. I'll have your email address from there, and we'll be able to get you in touch. All right, so If you're ultimately found eligible by SEB Housing, our next step is to send your file to the Affordable Housing Program's monitoring agent, which is DHCD, so the Department of Housing and Community Development. They will then have to do a file review of your information, and they'll give us the green light as to whether or not you're eligible to move forward. So there's a couple steps in the process. Once DHCD has approved your application, the process then becomes very similar to if you were buying a market rate home. I should mention too, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, this is really the point where if you decide to hire an attorney, we encourage you to do that. It's perfectly acceptable to do that, and it's likely the smart thing to do. Buying a home clearly is a huge decision. We want to make sure that you understand the process and you're well represented throughout it. So once DHCD has approved your application, you'll be put in touch with the owner or the sales office to schedule a tour of the home if you haven't already, complete a reservation agreement, and then to reserve the home, there's a $500 refundable deposit that's required at that point. After you reserve the home, you'll have about 10 business days to sign a purchase and sale agreement that is drawn up by the sales office, and you'll be placing the required deposit on the home, minus that $500 that you had already paid when you reserved the unit. Excuse me. Your purchase and sale agreement is going to include certain agreed upon contingencies and a closing date, and that will be one of the final steps in the home buying process. Once that purchase and sale is signed, you'll then have to go back to your bank or the lender who issued your mortgage pre-approval. And it doesn't have to be the same one, actually. It could be you get a pre-approval from one bank and you go to another for a commitment. And you're going to get that mortgage commitment. The process varies a little bit depending on the lender, but generally they're going to need to review all of your documents up until this point, which would be your purchase and sale agreement, the deed rider, etc. And they will do an appraisal of the home. There's a final review by SEB Housing to confirm that you've maintained program eligibility throughout the process. So like I said, you have to remain eligible for the affordable housing program up until about 3 to 4 weeks before your closing date. We're going to do that final review of your finances. We might ask for updated pay stubs, bank statements, your mortgage commitment letter to confirm that that's all squared away. And then we're going to forward that final package again to the monitoring agent for final review. So if eligibility is maintained, you can move forward to closing. And once you've closed on the home, you can move in. There's not going to be any future income or asset eligibility reviews. Again, the deed rider's in place, and so there's those stipulations, but there is no continued eligibility requirements for a household who purchases one of these affordable homes. Just have a message here. So if your household is 2 people and you're local to Bridgewater, would you be placed higher on the non-local waiting list? No. The non-local list everybody would have the same priority in terms of if they live in Bridgewater or not. So it's just one of the waiting lists of one of these units that is going to have that preference. The other one is kind of everyone is in the same pool, and then we just need to prioritize by household type. So a 1-person household, for example, is a type 1 household. They're not going to have priority over a type 3 or 3 or 4 people living in a 3-bedroom home. The affordable housing program is designed so that these larger households would have priority for the larger units. But for local preference, just that one property would have the preference there. So that really covers everything I wanted to get to from the information packet. Again, our website is where you can find the lottery application, a copy of the information packet, as well as the deed rider. So if you go to sebhousing.com and then go to I want to buy under our affordable opportunities, you're going to see a listing for Prattown Meadows, and that's where you'll see all of that. I'll stick around for another minute here if you have any other questions. And then again, anything that you want to be sent that I mentioned, email info@scbhousing.com. Go ahead and do that, and I'll get back to you guys by tomorrow morning with some answers and hopefully the floor plan. What if you're currently renting through SCB? Can I still apply for ownership? Yes, of course. Yep, if you're renting a property that we had done the lottery for, we're not a management company or anything, but yeah, if you're renting through a lottery that we had done, you can always apply for another rental lottery or a home ownership lottery. Anything else? Any other questions? Like I said, any questions that come up after the fact or anything that I wasn't able to answer tonight, just email us at info@scbhousing.com and I'll be able to get back to you. Thank you guys. This was a good turnout. I appreciate all the questions. And if you are interested in applying, go ahead and do that. We will look forward to getting your applications. Have a good night.